Have you ever been asked, what's the weather like in just frozen up? Well, we're about to change all that. In this explainer, we're going to build your English weather vocabulary from the ground up, covering everything from basic grammar to some really powerful descriptive words for every single season.
You know, it all starts with this classic idea. British people are famous for talking about the weather all the time, simply because it's always changing. We get cold winters, hot summers, and absolutely everything in between. That variety is exactly what makes the vocabulary so interesting. So let's use these 4 seasons as our guide.
But before we can start describing blizzards and heat waves, we've got to get the basics down first. We'll start with just a couple of simple grammar rules. Trust me, getting these right is the absolute key to sounding natural when you talk about the weather.
Okay, so let's get into the grammar of weather. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but it's actually incredibly straightforward. There are really just 3 main patterns you need to know, and it all depends on whether you're using an adjective, a verb, or a noun.
See, here's how it breaks down. If you're using an adjective, like warm, the structure is super simple. It is warm. For a verb, you just add ing at the end. It is raining. And for a noun, you'll use there is, like in there is a storm. So with those 3 simple formulas in mind, let's actually start using them.
All right, now we get to apply those rules. Let's start with our first season, winter. It's time to explore all the different words we can use to describe the cold, the ice, and kind of the harsh beauty of this time of year.
Okay, here's our first set of tools. You can go so much further than just saying cold. Is it just a little bit cold? You can call it chilly. But is it really cold? Then you'll want to use words like bitter or freezing. A crisp day is cold, but it feels really fresh and dry. On the other hand, a gloomy or bleak day sounds dark and honestly pretty depressing. See how each word paints a totally different picture?
Oh, and here's a very specific and useful one, sleet. It's not really snow, and it's not really rain. It's that miserable, half-frozen mix right in between. It's almost always unpleasant, which makes it a great, precise word to have in your vocabulary.
Beyond adjectives, let's talk about winter's actions and nouns. The sky can unleash a blizzard, which isn't just snow. It's a really powerful, windy snowstorm. And a cold snap? That's the perfect term for when you get a sudden, short burst of really intense cold. And if you've been outside for too long in any of it, you might come inside and say you're frozen to the bone.
Okay, as the ice starts to melt, we move into spring. You know that season of transition where you can get bright sunshine and heavy rain in the same afternoon. It's a real mix of warm and wet, and the vocabulary we use totally reflects that.
You'll notice the adjectives for spring are a lot gentler. Cool and mild are perfect for those days that aren't quite hot but aren't cold either. A breezy day has a lovely light wind, and instead of just saying cloudy, you can sound a bit more advanced by saying overcast, which means the entire sky is covered in clouds. Oh, and muggy, that's a fantastic word for when the air feels warm, a little wet, and kind of sticky.
And speaking of wet, not all rain is created equal. We have different words for how intense it is. Drizzle is that very light, misty rain that just seems to go on forever. A shower is more of a short burst of rain that comes and goes. But when it's really coming down hard, you can say it's pouring.
And of course, that brings us to this famous idiom. I feel like every single English learner knows it's raining cats and dogs. And while it's a great one to know, you might also hear native speakers say something more like it's bucketing down to describe a really heavy downpour. It's a fun one to have ready.
All right, let's move on to summer, the season of sunshine, holidays, and sometimes really intense heat. The vocabulary here is all about describing those long, hot days and those beautiful, clear blue skies.
When it comes to summer heat, hot is really just the starting point. If a day is really hot, you can call it scorching, sweltering, or even boiling. A blistering sun feels incredibly strong and powerful. And a clear day, that means there isn't a single cloud in the sky, just perfect summer weather.
So when the sun is out, you can say it's shining. But if it's really strong, you could even say it's burning or scorching. So what do we do with all that sunshine? Well, we try to catch some rays or soak up the sun. Both of those are really casual, fun idioms that just mean sunbathing.
And for our final season, the long, hot days of summer start to fade, and we head into autumn, or fall as they say in America. The weather gets a little cooler, the leaves change color, and the air becomes windy and often a bit misty.
What a beautiful word to start with, autumnal. It perfectly captures that special feeling of an autumn day. And as it gets windier, you can say it's blustery, which describes wind that's blowing in strong, sudden gusts. We also start to see more misty and foggy mornings. But what's the actual difference between them?
So what is the difference? Well, mist is pretty light and thin. You can usually still see through it without too much trouble. Fog, on the other hand, is like a thick cloud that's sitting right on the ground. Visibility can get really low, which makes fog much, much thicker than mist.
When the autumn wind gets really strong, we often say it's howling. And for the nouns, we have a whole scale of intensity. A strong wind is a gale. An even more powerful destructive wind system is a hurricane. And that spinning vortex of wind, that, of course, is a tornado. 3 very powerful words for some very powerful weather.
So there you have it. We've journeyed through all 4 seasons, we've covered grammar, tons of adjectives, and even a few idioms. Now the only thing left to do is for you to actually put it into practice. So, I have a question for you. What's the weather like where you are today? Is it crisp, drizzly, scorching, or maybe a little blustery? Go on, give it a try.